on crntalk.com.
Welcome to Divine Love Talk with Dr. Parthenia Grant, where we talk about health, well-being, and the love of the divine that exists in all of us. Now, here's your host, Dr. Parthenia Grant.
Hi, it's Dr. Sarah Larsen in studio for Dr. Parthenia Grant. We are so glad that you're here with us, and today's show is extremely special to me. I love meditation, I love the arts, and I love both of these men that are in studio with me for obvious reasons. We've got Micheal D. Los Angeles in the house and Greg Larsen. Micheal D. Los Angeles, I have witnessed grow from a brilliant young adult to the adult sitting before us, this artist sitting before us. When I met you, you had long hair and you had just this brilliant, sweet innocence, and you seemed just a little bit lost. We met at an event that I produced out, and you were so amazing in the way that you stepped up. And today, Micheal D. Los Angeles is a graduate of Humboldt State University. You graduated in English Lit, which is one of those things that, wow, it takes a lot of work. And this is the release of your second book that we'll talk about on this show and upcoming shows, which is really, really beautiful. The Earthicana Soul and Next.
Soul Tonics.
Soul Tonics.
Soothing the soul.
Awesome. We're so glad you're here. I'm going to share more about Micheal in a minute or two. How does it feel to be a graduate and to have your second book coming out?
It's definitely been a whirlwind. It seems like the moment that I had started this before I had even graduated, this was already a thought in my head, and I had already been, by that point I had already had a compilation, a collection of works that had already been published. And so at this point, I was, as soon as I graduated, I was like, I'm going to produce my second book. It needs to happen, because so much had happened between the first one, The Pirate with the Golden Gun, and this one. It was just like, it needs to happen. And so this one has photos, letters, poetry, and sort of puts them all together in a story. And
I love what we're talking about. It's so beautiful to have your second book and to watch the evolution from the first book, reading some of the poems last night and over the past week. It's been really lovely. I was sharing some of this with my darling, brilliant husband, who is an author. Greg Larsen just graduated, I'm going to say, from Alt for Norge, a reality TV show based in Norway, and is an artist, singer, songwriter, and book writer. And so it's really great to have. Micheal, would you say how old you are?
I'm 29.
29. Wonderful. And
I'm 29 and a half. I'm actually 44.
44. Just to have men over the years really share their experience of what it's like to be an artist. What's it like for you, Greg, to be an artist and at 44 where you are in your stage in life?
Yeah, well, recently I actually produced an EP of 3 songs. I was a songwriter for a time there in Nashville, Tennessee, and they're country themed and beautiful, and just being in the studio and, you know, just actually reflecting on it, because you write the song, you get the idea, you collaborate with other songwriters, you write the song, you nurture it, you know, get some feedback from other writers or other experts, and then you go, you know, you finally think that this is where it needs to be, and then you go into the studio, and that's just so magical to hear this sound you have in your mind of what it could sound like, and then to have the musicians come in and lay down the tracks, and then go into the vocal booth, and then get it all done at the end, and you hear it for the first time with everything's mixed and all the arrangements are in there and the background vocals are in there, and you're like, wow, I think I've just been on this journey with God, co-creating the most beautiful experience. It's just such a soul nurturing
feeling to have that
totally
go from an idea.
That's right.
Like, Micheal, what was that like for you to have this idea that this book is going to come through? And then I really want to bring in the thought of how it's a meditative practice and it's a realization of your art.
So I guess it was this realization that I had that of really coming to understand myself and knowing myself and developing that practice, and that was the meditation, which allowed me to then go into my notebooks, my journals, my photography archives, my musical archives, and go, okay, what best reflects where I'm at right now, and what best reflects the growth that I've had.
So that's so beautiful. And how is it that this becomes part of the practice of becoming an adult, a man, and this goes to either one, how is that you get this idea, you start meditating on it, you gather information, what does it feel like?
It's good.
It's good?
It definitely feels good. It allows me to look at myself and where I was at and say, yes, this is me. This is who I am, and this is who I was. And, with strong affirmation of understanding and acceptance. And I believe that that's a part of adulthood, and accepting who you are and being accepting of others.
And I think part of the rites of passage for men and for women, but especially important for men, is the ability to be able to share their stories. And so much of our history, so much of our myths were handed down in the arts, whether it was the art of storytelling, in the art of song, in the art of poetry. And so beautiful. We're going to have you read some of your poetry in the next segment. I also, Micheal, I would not feel good if I didn't mention all the different groups that you're part of, LA Artists, and for learners of all ages, which are both local to the LA area, and you're a leader in that arena for helping young adolescents, young men and young women, really be able to express themselves and have their voice be heard. What does it mean to you to have your voice be heard? And
within this community, it means the world. It definitely means a lot for me to be able to share the art that I've cultivated and then go back to my neighbors, my loved ones, my family, and go, look, this is what I did. This is also the process that I used to make this happen. It's not unique to me. Any one of us can do this, and I can help with it, but each of us has our own story and our own approach. So
awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Greg, how did you get into becoming an artist?
Probably just by accident, a double dare from a friend. But one thing that when we were talking earlier there about this process, I've done a lot of men's work in my time, and part of the men's work that I've done, they focus on this tool that they use, which talks about the 4 quadrants of being a man, which is the king energy, the warrior energy, the lover energy, and the magician energy. And it's when we can embrace a magician energy and bring, from nothing to something, we can embody that. And it could be something like a guy wanting to build a house, and you could do the same thing. You take nothing and you gather materials, you bring your ideas together, you use your physical gifts and alchemy, and then you create something. And so whether it's building a house or creating a book or writing a song, that's that same thing. It's really stepping into your power as a magician and bringing to fruition an idea through that process, which is very powerful and very liberating and healing, and you feel connected. Lots of things happen when you do that.
Awesome. And Greg, you have a website called Living with Tole, a podcast, and you coach a lot of men into their magician and into their kingdoms, being able to receive that aspect of themselves.
That's right.
So that's such a beautiful gift. Thank you for bringing that to share with us.
Yeah.
What would you share as someone who has an idea, who would like to activate the magician within? What is part of the practice? Well,
immediately what comes to mind is that we get these deeper intuitive senses about something we want to create, and then the ego comes in and says, you You can't do that. Are you crazy? Are you silly? Just sit down, watch some more TV, get some more chips, and just chill out. Put that idea away. And so you have to be able to overcome that resistance from the ego. And that, although secretly it's like, oh my God, if I did that, I'd be famous and people would love me and I'd be amazing. But at the same time, it's so afraid of stepping out of its box that it will, you know, subvert those feelings of, wow, if I did this, it would help people, it would serve people, it would improve my life. And it comes right back to, it's just safer if you just stay right here.
There's less chance of being hurt.
Less chance of being hurt, of being embarrassed, of being exposed, all those things the ego really hates.
And one of the gifts that you give when you come together in a book is people can then think like you. We now have scientific studies that watch brain development as you're reading a book start to finish, being able to think like the artist or the writer. Your brain rewires itself to problem solve like you, because now that we've written this and read this book that you've written, we can problem solve like you could at the time that you were writing the book.
And I think one of the things that really resonates with Greg, what you just mentioned, was that the sort of embarrassment that comes along with, it's a vulnerability that comes along with that artistic process. One of the poems that I wrote in here, a text message in a bottle. You know, I grew up in Virgil Village in Los Angeles, and that was an area that was significantly, how do I put this lightly, gang infested and hyper surveillance with police force, and
not the most conducive for producing artists. No.
And so there was always this vulnerability that I had with writing, and I always felt like, no, I can't do that, because it was, you know, sort of programmed into me. It was like, I can't be an artist. You know, what are my options?
And to have a beautiful young man at 29 that came from this hard background which didn't respect anyone with a tender heart. It kind of festered the toughness in the area. And then for a Minnesota Viking, Norwegian Viking, to come forth and really express vulnerability, it's breaking the stereotype for each of you to have works produced and to be part of that community. What do you have for people that are, you know, within this shell?
I would say, don't be afraid of your comfort zone. Like, don't be afraid to step out of that and be fearless and be able to embrace, you know, what comes with, you know, exposure and self-exposure, and saying, okay, maybe the song I wrote is not the best song, but I wrote it. It's mine. And through that, whatever I had to heal has now healed, and I've now expressed that. And so I'm curious what lessons you've learned.
Yeah, you know what? You just have to put it out there, because and understand that the ego, even at one day, you know, you get walking out of the studio like, this is the best song ever. I can't believe this happened. This is so magical. And you play for someone, they're like, oh, okay, yeah. I don't know, yeah. Guess it sounds nice. I don't really know. It doesn't really speak to me. It's like, what doesn't speak to you? It was like, it's from my heart. So you have to be able to just fearlessly create and just understand that it won't resonate with everybody as much as it does for others. And so you just have to focus on where it is making an impact.
Well, we are so glad you guys are joining us. Please come back in a couple minutes. We have Micheal D., Ray Los Angeles, and Greg Larsen in the house, with Dr. Sarah Larsen filling in for Dr. Parthenia Grant. We love you here at CRN. We're Divine Love Talk, and we will see you in a couple minutes.
Do you own a car you no longer want, and you don't have the time or energy to sell it? donate your car to Heritage for the Blind. Your donation is tax deductible and your car will be towed away for free. Call 800-785-9618. Heritage for the Blind accepts cars, trucks, vans, and boats. It doesn't matter if your vehicle runs or not. Call now. Your donation will help those in need. Heritage for the Blind is a non-profit organization that helps the visually impaired live fuller lives. Call now to donate your car. And as a special thank you, you'll receive a free 3-day vacation voucher to over 50 locations. Call Heritage for the Blind right now. Call 800-785-9618. Donating is easy, it's tax deductible, and your vehicle is towed away for free. Plus, you'll get a free vacation voucher by donating. Call 800-785-9618. That's 1-800-785-9618.
Fact. U.S. credit card debt is 8 times larger than it was 30 years ago. No wonder you and I are feeling the credit card crunch. You're not alone. Increasing prices and the costs of credit are stretching budgets and preventing people just like us from getting ahead or just catching up with our debts. At American Financial Debt Relief, we can help. We have tested ways to help you get out of debt. Find out how now. The call is free to learn more. If you qualify, we can reduce your interest, show you how to stop your debt from getting larger, and help you get out of debt faster than you can by making minimum payments. So if you're falling behind on your credit cards or medical bills, give us a call right now, where a free 5-minute call can change your life.
800-978-4817. 800-978-4817. Reduce your credit card debt. Call now. 800-978-4817. 800-978-4817.
Whether it's a serious fall, fire danger, or other type of home emergency, Life Alert is there for you. The company, with its slogan, "Help, I've Fallen and I Can't Get Up," protects its members. Here are some of them.
When you have a heart attack like I did, and there's no one there, Life Alert was there for me.
Having a secure feeling through Life Alert is ideal.
My independence is possible because of it.
Now, Life Alert can also protect you in a fire emergency with a system that automatically notifies our monitoring center.
Thanks to Life Alert, you can live alone without ever being alone.
For a free Life Alert brochure, call 1-800-814-4041. That's 1-800-814-4041. Call now, 1-800-814-4041. For a free brochure, call 1-800-814-4041. 1-800-814-4041.
And we are back. It's Dr. Sarah Larsen in the house on Divine Love Talk with Micheal Ray and Greg Larsen. Micheal, we were just talking about what it was like to grow up in this sort of police state. Where you grew up, and you have one of your most beautiful poems, Miracle of a Breath.
Yes.
I'd love for you to share that.
Wonderful. This is The Miracle of a Breath, and it really came out of a place of fear and then being able to embrace it, and so being okay with myself and realizing that, I'm just, in a sense, another piece in this larger puzzle of the universe. So
beautiful.
This is the miracle of a breath. Whilst cuffed snugly, with cold metal pressed against my skin and the touch of Le Mort still fresh on my hands, I smiled as only a Cheshire cat would. The air still reeked of swine. In a moment of doubt, the strength and wisdom of a sequoia, its spine recto como un pistola, reminded me just to breathe. In breath. Just like Davis, like Chavez, like Huerta, like Gandhi, like Parks, like King, like Jamal, like Tookie Williams walking down the halls of Skid Row. Like Anne Frank, like Viktor Frankl, like Keats, Shelley, and Wordsworth, like Agard, like Huidobro, like X, Trayvon Martin, and Sophie Lancaster, like that beautiful Julia Butterfly Hill, like Shelley, like Olad Equiano. exhale. Each breath has already passed through the lungs of every peaceful warrior, from Mother Teresa to Senora Parks, from Maria Trinidad Santa Cruz to Esperanza Quintero, from Amanda Saiz to Jennifer Alejo. Exhale, exhale, exhale. Wildfires still raging in belly, and rain clouds storming the gates of a rational mind, as dewdrops ran down a red-soaked face, crafting rivers of truth without joy in a passionate welcoming anthem of unifying love. I looked up. Within your smile, I see bits of harmony, radiance, compassion, fearlessness, virtue, truth, honor, wisdom. Yes, within your eyes I see sparks of joy, gardens of happiness, fields of triumph, and, of course, love. I thought you were here to protect me, to serve, to help. Closed eyes, open heart. Inhale. Je suis paz und tranquillity.
How beautiful. That is so beautiful. I feel in that poem, as you're reading it and being it, you're calling in each of those guides that went before us to allow each breath to become more filled and embodying of that. And so, divine inspiration in that poem. That was really, really beautiful. I'd love to have your input.
Well, to me, we were talking earlier about the 4 quadrants that men are to embody, and it brought about, what it reminded me is embracing the king energy, which is about honoring and about, acknowledging what is and what's come before. It's being in that space. So it very much came from that space of energy. So I want to acknowledge you for that, for being a young man and being in a space where you're not about, where's my Samsung Galaxy 4, and how am I, you're coming from a deeper place, and that's something I respect, and I want to acknowledge you for that.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
That representative of the king energy. And could you describe or tell us a little bit about the other 4 quadrants? I mean, king is one of the 4.
King is one, and they actually they go with the direction too. And so, it's been a while since I visited this, but I want to say it starts with the east, and the east is the warrior. And of course, the warrior is the one who provides, the one who protects and defends. And then in the south is the lover, being vulnerable, being tender. And then in the west is the magician, being available to alchemy and bringing to fruition ideas. And then in the north is the king energy, which is about honoring and acknowledging and standing in that space. So,
for men, well, we are going to commercial again, but I want to make sure that you can find our beautiful guests wherever they are. Micheal Ray de Los Angeles has a website, which is his name, Micheal Ray de LosAngeles.org. And Greg Larsen has livingwithtole.com. So,
how do you spell Tolle?
Tolle. It's Eckhart Tolle. It's a podcast where we kind of riff on his ideas.
And mine is www.drsarahlarsen.com. We will see you after break.
Do you have really pure water? Maybe not if you're drinking bottled water. Bottled water has some dirty little secrets. Plastic bottles come from oil products. The 5-gallon polycarbonate jugs contain bisphenol A, a synthetic estrogen that has raised health concerns. Bottled water dispensers quickly develop algae and bacteria and should be sanitized regularly. Have you ever cleaned your water dispenser? Are you drinking water containing algae and bacteria and synthetic estrogen? Now the good news. Pure Water Science can replace that dirty, outdated bottled water cooler with a high-tech water purification system. The Pure Water Science system features a stainless steel tank that constantly monitors water quality to guarantee your water is pure. It alerts you when service or filter changes are needed. Multi-stage purification removes organic and inorganic contaminants, and the patented self-sanitizing feature eliminates algae and bacteria while adding oxygen to your water. It costs less than bottled water without the bottled water hassle. No more bottles to lift. Just sanitized delicious water, hot or cold, from Pure Water Science. Call 818-502-4191. 818-502-4191.
More than 2.5 million women in America are affected by breast cancer. Together, day by day, we're painting a brighter picture, and it's beautiful. Thanks to the support of the Safeway Foundation, Stand Up to Cancer, and you, so many women are living to embrace a new day. When you buy this limited edition bag, you're giving $2 to the cause and supporting vital research for a cure. Join the Safeway Foundation and Stand Up to Cancer. With your help, we're creating a brighter tomorrow.
Hi, I'm Joan London, and if you're worried about your parent or a loved one living alone like I was, and you want reliable senior care information, then call A Place for Mom, the nation's largest senior living referral service. You'll get free information on assisted living, Alzheimer's care, nursing homes, even important financial information.
They had obviously researched every place, not just given me names.
Really?
They found me a place for what she could afford, and it was magnificent.
We're now very confident that she's safe, and they just helped every step of the way, and I can't thank them enough.
So if you're struggling to find reliable senior living information, call A Place for Mom. This is a free service, and you can trust them to help you.
If you're struggling to find reliable senior living information for your mom or dad, then call or go online to get the free help you need during this turbulent time. Call now, 800-704-6182, 800-704-6182.
Trying to sell your old car? Instead, donate your vehicle to Heritage for the Blind. Pickup is free and your donation is tax deductible. Call 800-785-9618. Heritage for the Blind accepts cars, vans, trucks, and boats, whether they run or not. Donate your vehicle and you'll receive a free 3-day vacation voucher to over 50 locations. Call 800-785-9618. That's 1-800-785-9618.
How deep in debt are you? $10,000? $15,000? Maybe even more? And every day that goes by, you know what happens. Your debt gets larger and larger and larger. Well, if you've had it with your mushrooming debt problem and the stress it is causing you, make this free call today to the Debt Solutions Network. One quick, no-obligation call is all it takes for one of our partner companies to show you how they can help you get out of debt. So if you have $10,000 or more in combined debt and you want to learn how you can solve it, make this free, no-obligation call now.
800-814-5108, 800-814-5108.
If you are in serious debt, you have to get out of it and fast. Call my friends at the Debt Solutions Network now.
800-814-5108, 800-814-5108. Call us 24/7, 800-814-5108.
And we are back. This is Dr. Sarah Larsen on Divine Love Talk with Michael Ray and Greg Larsen. We've been talking about art and meditation and some of the beautiful poetry that's come through and some of the beautiful art forms that's come through with both of our in-studio guests here. We really want to talk about now, shift from all of this into how this can help you and how important it is as a man, as a woman, as these energies that we embody to come into some sort of healing, going from the stereotype or the typical what's expected of you and moving into one of these four quadrants as a man. There are quadrants as a woman as well that show up. I'd love for each of you to talk about what it's like to move from the stereotype. Describe what the stereotype for someone that grew up like you would be.
I'm going to go with age before beauty.
Well, I have a very, different situation, possibly because I grew up in a very Scandinavian culture, which is very, quiet, and you don't talk a whole bunch, and sharing from that exciting place within is not so much encouraged. It's low key, talk about the weather, don't rock the boat,
And so there's not a lot of emotion or sharing that happens in the culture.
Yeah.
And so for a poet or an artist or a singer-songwriter to come through, what does that mean?
That means until you find that, you probably, find every kind of escape you can, because your soul is not being able to speak, and Because when I grew up, I was very vulnerable or emotional as a boy, which was so embarrassing because I didn't know how to handle it. I was not coached on how to be okay in the world being that way. So the only thing I could do is, revert to partying and kind of dropping out a little bit. So, and it wasn't until college, that I kind of it was someone who dared me to try out for a play, and in doing so, I kind of stumbled into expressing myself through art, which was such a gift. It was such a portal into becoming a totally different person and becoming myself, really.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And so, thank you for sharing that. That's so Scandinavian, going from this, I have the Viking mentality, and I spend time in the north, and I've watched some of the Alt for Norge shows, and so really having that, you don't share, you're not vulnerable, it's stoic. And to go from that to where you're crying on air and able to really, really express yourself is quite a journey.
Yeah.
And Micheal, for you,
I spent a lot of time running from one person or another, from one thing or another. It was a lot. It was a denial of self in a way. I like to consider what I had was purple crayon syndrome, which was my mother, supported me in everything that I could do, and I was the purple crayon. If I wanted to do it, whether it was dancing or singing, it was like, okay, go ahead and do it, and you'll figure it out. So I had the support at home, but from the larger community, it was more of a, well, that's queer. That's not how you're supposed to act. That's not how you're supposed to dance. That's not how you're supposed to dress. It's in a sense in relation to the female and the feminine energies. It was more towards you're supposed to dominate. You're supposed to overcome, and you're supposed to have a long list of accomplishments that you gathered along the way.
Off.
Yeah.
So what I hear you saying is you got to express yourself, but most young boys in that area were taught, be masculine, be macho, dominate the female, have this is the way that you're supposed to be. Yeah.
That was definitely, and no expression, and the only expression that would often come out was through violence.
Through violence,
and,
towards
or aggression.
Towards women and men, or just towards everything.
I would say towards both.
Towards both. Yeah. And what I love is here you've mentioned your mother.
Yeah.
Giving you permission, cultivating, allowing for you to say whatever you said yes to, she would say yes to, and allow you to figure the way out. And I think this is a really important thing for mothers, for women, and for fathers to really embark on. If you guys are a generation apart, and to watch a little bit of shift happen, and for a much greater shift for the next generation, and the next generation that's coming in, involves really cultivating that yes, whatever is being highlighted within the person by making requests. I'd like to dance, Mommy. I'd like to do this. Or, Daddy, I'd like to do this. Finding a way to say yes and letting the child figure it out. Or your partner, if they're not a child anymore, figure it out. Art as a meditative practice, how did that help you express yourself? In making yourself vulnerable. You had dance, you had art, you had your mom, but you still had all of these role models of men that were macho and violent and aggressive. And so how did you balance that?
It helped out with my filtering process, and it really helped me see, what sort of man did I want to develop into, what sort of ethics, what sort of values do I embody, having had both parents who were absolutely supportive of everything that I've ever done, and having a family and a community who's like, yes, we enjoy what you do, please share more. Being able to say, okay, well now, where am I at, and who are some of the men that I appreciate. And some of those in the last poem that I mentioned were, people like Dr. King,
yes.
like Gandhi, like Malcolm X, but also looking at people like Tookie Williams, who was given the death sentence a couple years back. He was on death row, and so looking at the
I
full
remember
spectrum.
that story,
yes.
too. And this is what you do. You nurture in this organization, this local organization called For Learners of All Ages. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. So we've been starting with community dialogues. We're looking at Raphael Sonnenschein's book, Structure of LA, a City Government. And so it's sort of about empowering people with knowledge of how to navigate their city, and then having that as our sort of handbook and manual that we're using, going into the community and saying, okay, well, now that we've all gathered and we have some tools, what can we do together? And so now what we're looking at is community gardening, and developing edible food forests, and developing gardens for people who don't have access to them in this neighborhood, and that's been absolutely wonderful. And one of the things that we're doing this Saturday is a film night with at Fox Dance Studios, and so
that's Saturday the 26th, 2013, in Los Angeles, Fox Dance Studios. What is the film?
We'll be screening Night of the Living Dead. And so, interestingly enough, there's some themes that are reflective of that era that we will be discussing after the film, which are some of the idea of the masculine, the male energy. What was that for the film? Was the film had the first African American protagonist that featured.
Yes.
And so that was a big shift. That was a big cultural shift for us.
At the time. And it's through film and through the arts that we allow our imagination to go where there are no boundaries and develop new ways of being. And in Night of the Living Dead, which I think is such a great title for what it's like when you're not being yourself, when you're really trapped within, you have this desire to express yourself in a particular way, but there's overwhelming fear that keeps you from being able to express yourself. It's like an endless night of being living and dead at the same time. And so having these being part of a community that nurtures and fosters a new way of being, community gardens, giving youth brilliant mentors and ways to express themselves that break open so you're not the living dead but just the living, which I think a lot of your work is about on Eckhart Tolle, Living with Tolle website is about becoming present in the moment, and it's about really letting go of a past story or a future projection. And so what are some of the things that you want to bring into this conversation?
We were talking about art. A few things that were coming for me is that actually at one point in my life when I was in Nashville pursuing a career as a singer-songwriter, just by happenstance, I happened to acquire this art studio. I was going to go in on it with a couple of the artists. They never actually showed up, so I just ended up having this art studio to myself. And so at the time I was into meditation. I built a meditation bench there at the little shop at the big complex. And I would sit in this empty space. It was an old warehouse that had this gigantic window and this, hardwood floors, 20-foot ceiling. So I would sit there and I would just meditate and be as still and quiet and thoughtless as possible. And then one day, an image came, and it was an image of an angelfish. And so I went about, built a workbench, acquired all the aluminum that I would need for this, soft aluminum that one of my artist friends used, so I had kind of an idea what the medium was. And I went about and I created this whole series of angelfish, the first year in the Green Hills Public Library.
It's amazing where all of those have wound up in the country, these beautiful, just a collection of angelfish.
So that came from meditating, being in nothing, being a clearing, just being a space for something to emerge. So that was a powerful kind of example of how meditation can actually lead to that. And other examples are, I remember reading about, I think it was Mozart. He would be, they described it like almost like a sleep state. He'd be in the horse and buggy, and he would kind of be dozing off to sleep. And all of a sudden, in that space where there was no thought and no activity, how a whole arrangement would come to him, all the different instruments just in one kind of shot, and he would just simply sit down and just kind of write it out what had come to him all at once. And so it's being in that space, whether it's meditating or almost falling asleep.
So being in the state of being a clearing for the vision to come to you.
That's right.
I'm going to just announce you guys again. That was Greg Larsen, Micheal Ray, D. Los Angeles, and I'm Dr. Sarah Larsen. You're listening to CRN Digital Talk Radio. We're so glad that you're with us. And that ability to catch a vision, that ability to still your mind is one of the greatest gifts that's been longed for and written about for thousands of years. And they're really, in your poem you mentioned this process of just being with the breath and being with the thoughts that come through, being in that. For thriving, surviving, striving artists that are coming forth, what are some of the practices that you go into?
I like to eat really good food. I love gardening. Those are two practices that really help out. Those are definitely meditative practices within my life.
As a doctor, as a palm reader, and a medical intuitive, and someone who is passionate about the food that we receive into our bodies, there's nothing as important. I think Hippocrates, let thy food be thy medicine. And medicine in that era really meant be the art of who you are. Let your food be the art of who you are.
It's beautiful.
Yes, and so that can't be understated, how important, or overstated. It's so important, the food that you put in. Sugar blocks parts of your brain. When you have more than 24 grams in about a 3-hour period, gluten is not natural to our bodies. It's an additive, cheap additive that really winds up harming us. Gardening and eating fruit that you've created. One of the studies, recent science has shown that if you sprout a seed, so you put a seed underneath your tongue for about 8 seconds, and then you sprout that seed and put that into the ground, that seed will produce the healing that your body needs.
Wow.
And for you to take this to the 4 learners of all ages in your community, in the community gardens, that they're growing the healing foods for their body in those community gardens, is so, so beautiful. Micheal, you're also part of LA Artists.
Yes. That's a recent project that I've been involved with for a couple of years now. I started off with just sending in my first art card, which is a postcard, but it's essentially a blank. One side is blank, and the other side has the description of what the project is, and it's essentially just use the space that's provided, and then you mail it into Oliver Shipley, who's been processing them. And so right now we're curating the second book. This will be the book for 2013, and it'll have about 50 different art cards that have been featured that a whole team of editors and contributing editors are working on together, and going through and selecting which ones really reflect what it means and what it looks like to be an LA artist.
Oh, wonderful. And how do people find out more about you? I know we're going to have, but I want to make sure everyone can find you. And you have a book release coming up, this LA Artist group, and you've also got the 4 learners of all ages. And so can you tell us how to reach some of those?
Yes, LA Artist LA-artist.com, for learners of all ages.org, and then Micheal Ray, RAYDE, Los Angeles .org would be where I would have all of this information as well. So,
and then we'll post a link to your website on our Facebook. Please join us and come back. We've got so much more great stuff to share with you. We are CRN.
Welcome back to the No Monthly Mortgage Payment Show.
No doubt you've heard the programs and commercials talking about reverse mortgages. You know, with the famous actors, or they used to be famous actors, telling you how you can eliminate your monthly mortgage payment, still own your home, and live the life of your dreams. Well, most of it's true, but you need to get all the facts. Call now for 7 secrets of reverse mortgages. Call 800-436-9870. This simple-to-read brochure includes information about possible hidden fees, which program benefits you and not the bank, and how to negotiate better terms. Let's put a stop to all the games. Call now to get the facts. Operators are standing by. Call 800-909-1247. That's 800-909-1247. 800-909-1247.
Hi, this is Larry Minetti. I played Rick on Magnum PI. This season, you've got to escape to Hawaii and stay at the Hilton Hawaiian Village Waikiki Beach Resort. Come lounge by your choice of 5 beautiful sparkling swimming pools. Surf or swim on Waikiki's whitest white sandy beach. Enjoy water sports at Duke Kahanamoku Lagoon. Visit the shops. Dine at any one of Hilton Hawaiian Village's favorite restaurants and watch awesome fireworks on Friday night. Hilton Hawaiian Village is Waikiki's only true destination resort with more of everything, folks. Book today at HiltonHawaiianVillage.com or see your travel agency. And don't forget to say Rick sent me.
If you're a responsible homeowner who's faithfully made your mortgage payments, you deserve thanks for doing the right thing. And I'd like to tell you about a powerful financial tool that rewards your responsibility. Hi, I'm Jay Farner, president of Quicken Loans, and the tool that I'm talking about is the Home Affordable Refinance Program, or HARP. HARP is designed to help you lower your mortgage payments. It's for responsible homeowners who are current on their payments, but due to the housing market may have little or no equity left in their home. And even if you were unable to get a HARP loan in the past, new guidelines mean that now you may be eligible. Over 2.5 million homeowners have already taken advantage of HARP and are saving an average of $250 a month. If you're one of the millions yet to take advantage, call us today at 800-QUICKEN. To learn more, call Quicken Loans today at 800-QUICKEN or go to QuickenLoans.com. That number again is 800-QUICKEN.
Important terms and conditions apply. Call us for cost information. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
We are back. It's Divine Love Talk. I am Dr. Sarah Larsen. I'm so glad that we are wrapping up. This was quite a show. Michael, thank you. Thank you for your second book, for this, all the websites that you've brought in. And can you list your main website again?
It's michaelraydelosangeles.org.
.org. And you've got your book coming out on the 28th. There's a party book release for that. We're going to mention all of that on Divine Love Talk on Facebook. If you could go into it just briefly.
I will be posting a second poem, Before I Knew Self, on the Divine Love Talk website, as well as the...
I'm so excited for you guys to see that one and read that one. Michael, you are such a beautiful young man. It's been so lovely to watch your transformation and the emergence of the King.
Yeah.
That's before us. Thank you. Greg, where can we find out more information about you, and any final thoughts?
Yeah, well, my website is livingwithtole, TOLLE.com, which is a website that it's podcasts, lots of interviews, videos, meditations, lots of tools for transformation. And kind of the essence of it is, you know, when all the craziness of everyday life, spouse, kids, work, you know, projects, everything, how do you find time to be present? So that's kind of what we explore on that website.
And so practices to do that right.
That's right.
Right. To fit right in. And then you're coming off the show Alt for Norge.
That's right.
Is there anything you want to say to your fans and your family that are listening in Norway?
You know, that was kind of a big creative project. It's reality TV and very intense and lots of competitions and exploring Norway, being awestruck by the beauty of the land, of the people, of reconnecting with my roots, of this yearning to meet my living Norwegian family. It was such an intense experience. And, you know, just from the format of the show, because we didn't know what was going on from day to day, you just had to live in the moment and trust that you were going to show up and give your all, and your intuition would be available, all your faculties would be available, and you'd be able to overcome the challenges of that day and move on to the next week and the next leg of the journey. So it was a really powerful experience.
So awesome. And your website is livingwithtole, TOLLE.com.
That's right.
And I just want to leave everyone with what it's like to really live on the edge of yourself, what it's like to be in a room full of people that are living out of their comfort zone, really totally expressing themselves and being vulnerable. Every day I wake up and I'm like, how am I going to do this? Because I've put 200 things on my schedule and I'm running from space to space on the edge of myself. And that is, what would life be like if you weren't afraid? That's what I'm leaving the audience with. What would life be like? Tapping in to the purpose that you're here for in every moment and in every breath. And I'm so proud to have these two beautiful men, my husband who went on this epic journey to Norway, Alt for Norge, and then for in-studio guests, and for you guys out there in the audience. We want to hear from you. We want to hear about the shows, and we want to thank you here at Divine Love Talk for being with us, and we look forward to next week's show where we'll have you again talking more about your book and more about your experiences. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Sarah.
Oh, and you can find me, my website, www.drsaralarsen.com. That's DRSARAHLARSEN. And a shout out to Dr. Parthenia. Woohoo! Thanks for creating this Divine Love Talk.